madness begin. It has been 345 days since the Baylor Bears hoisted the trophy in Indianapolis, and now they're back in the dance, hoping to do it all over again. I'm sure most of you have been hard at work already filling out your brackets, so let's take a look. There it is in all its glory. Gonzaga, once again, the #1 overall seed in the tournament, joined by Arizona, Kansas, and of course Baylor. As we zoom into that East region, there are the Bears, a #1 seed for the second straight season, but they find themselves in a tough region. Powerhouse names top to bottom: Kentucky, UCLA, Purdue, even North Carolina, Indiana, and Texas. This region all about the big brands. But not Baylor's first round foe. That team, the Norfolk State Spartans, champions of the Meac. This is Norfolk's second straight season in the tournament and just their third trip ever. However, both times they've made the tourney, they've gotten a win. In 2012, they upset the 2-seed Mizzou, and then last season, they won a first four matchup against Appalachian State.
I told the guys just now, we're packing until Sunday. We don't have any intentions of coming back home Thursday. If it happens, it happens. But our intention is to come back home Sunday.
The Spartans are actually the second-rated defense in the entire country in terms of field goal percentage. Chris Bankston is the anchor for Norfolk down low. He was the most efficient player in the Meac. Their coach says he actually feels like they match up pretty well with Baylor in terms of size. The Bears not overlooking them.
This is a team that's had postseason success. They've had a history of winning and doing well, especially the last 9 years. So with us, you gotta focus on the first game, and if you don't, you don't get a chance to look at the others.
Now they can't focus on the others, but we certainly can. Also in Baylor's spot in Fort Worth, Marquette and North Carolina, two programs with a ton of postseason history, a combined 23 Final Fours between them, but this season they've been running closer to the middle of the pack. The Baylor we know is nowhere close to the Baylor we knew at the beginning of the season. Some new faces have emerged, yes, but many still sidelined with no return in sight. Just about every day at practice has been a guessing game for Scott Drew and the Bears. Who can suit up and play, and who will be forced to sit on the sidelines?
It's real easy for me because the trainer's the one that makes the decisions, and he just tells me who I have for the day. So I try not to answer his calls.
For the last month, the trainer's room has been a revolving door of Bears.
A bad mojo going on right now in the Pharaoh.
The injuries changing the way the Bears have been able to practice all season.
The more you do in contact and practice, the more chance you have another injury. So if you practice a lot, put a lot in, and we have two players out, then it's all for naught.
But as always, Coach Drew has found a way to draw inspiration from a familiar place.
It's a little bit like the book of Gideon in the Bible, too. So, I mean, people keep dropping off, and these guys keep persevering, and we play the culture of joy, and it's God's platform, and these guys have honored it.
In that biblical story, the Israelites pulled off an upset by creating chaos in the Midianite camp. The Bears looking for a little chaos too come tournament time, as their somewhat depleted roster looks to pull off a magical run in March.
A couple days right now to recover and rehab is going to be important. And then when we do practice, we'll make sure that we do a better job putting our guys in position to be successful.
Here's a list of injuries Baylor has dealt with this season. Langston Love got hurt before the season even started. Then James Akinjo, Jeremy Sohan, and Adam Flagler all missed time at different points during conference play. Of course, Everyday John went down with a season-ending knee injury, and even Baylor's walk-ons got hurt. With those injuries, others have had to step up. One of them, senior Flo Thamba. Before JTT's injury, Thamba had scored in double digits just twice in 24 games. In the 8 games since, he's scored 10 or more 5 times. But even more impressive is the fact Flo has had to do it without seeing his family. In fact, Thamba revealed he hasn't seen his family since he got to Waco. They've never actually watched him play in college. All of that set to change this weekend in Fort Worth.
Just a good feeling, more so for my mom, because she's always supported me in a lot of ways, and just seeing her, just seeing the fruits of the labor that we've being away from each other for so long, just seeing how it's just going to be special to us. Like, man, we get to celebrate this thing as a family.
Thamba is set to be in that starting 5 for the Bears on Thursday. All season, Baylor has counted on its young guys, Kendall Brown and Jeremy Sohan, to rise to the occasion. Scott Drew saying they're not playing like freshmen anymore. Brown and Sohan have both risen to become projected first-round picks in the NBA draft. A lot of that has come as their confidence has shot through the roof. Take Brown. In his first 6 conference games, he averaged less than 5 shots per game. Now, he's one of Baylor's most efficient scorers and a key cog in the wheel as we hit the postseason.
Both of them, if you watch film in the beginning of conference, were good players, but they're much more battle tested, a lot more physical. They've gone through the rigors of the Big 12 and are better because of it.
The real question with Jeremy Sohan, what color is his hair going to be before the NCAA tournament? Sohan has rocked the long locks, the shaved head, green hair, and then for the Big 12 tournament, that blue hair to show support for the people of Ukraine.
No matter what outcome we just had, I think it's obvious that there's something going on in this world that isn't the best thing. I think we're all connected in some way, and what's happening isn't right. So just trying to show some awareness is the only thing I can do, and even if it's a small thing, I'm going to try and do my thing.
No word yet on what Sohan has planned for this weekend. Now, you'll recall these scenes last year, Jared Butler and company lifting the trophy on the streets of Waco. Now, 1 year later, Butler is still making an impact, this time off the court. Before he ever took the Farrell Center floor, before he ever even hit a clutch jumper, before he ever paraded down Austin Avenue as a national champion, Baylor star Jared Butler's basketball dreams were almost dashed by a stunning diagnosis.
I found out that I had HCM when I was 17 years old, when I just got to college, a part of a routine physical exam.
That day at the University of Alabama, Butler learned he had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a genetic heart condition that makes it harder for the heart to pump blood through the body.
It was just scary because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it mean for my basketball career. Would I still be able to continue to play?
The news a shock to Butler's mother as well, especially when she learned she had unknowingly carried the gene her entire life.
I was totally into denial because I had no idea what this was. I had never heard of it. We had no family history behind it. So we were clueless.
Butler eventually transferred to Baylor, where a team of doctors and trainers helped him track and manage his newfound condition. But what Butler was missing in the early stages was a voice of guidance and understanding that could show him, not just tell him, that things were going to be okay.
First few weeks, I was just like, oh, this is, I'm just extremely hopeless. And so I would have loved to have somebody as open and, extremely informative about this condition.
Fast forward 94 games, more than 1,300 points, and a national title later, Butler is in the league now, hoping he can be the voice he wishes he had more than 4 years ago.
My role is definitely just to be a light for people who might be going through the same thing that I experienced at 17 years old, learning that I have this condition and not knowing anybody else with this condition. So I just, really want to, be a model, a trailblazer for anybody that's looking for information.
His message, a simple one.
Your story's not over at your diagnosis. It's just the beginning.
The beginning of a long journey, one showing the power of determination and, of course, heart. We are just getting started in our NCAA tournament special. Coming up, it's been a season of change for Baylor women's basketball, but can they still find success? We break down the women's tournament next. From the day Nicki Collins stepped on campus at Baylor, she's been squarely under the microscope, the standard nearly impossible to live up to. But as we approach the postseason, Coach Nicki is finding ways to make this team her own, and it's paying off. Nicki Collins knew just what she was walking into when she first took the job at Baylor.
There's going to be a time and point where it's going to be, they're going to question, if I was the right person. And I hope that doesn't happen, but you have to have thick skin if you're going to get into coaching. And never more than ever, because expectations are high.
Collins filling Hall of Fame size shoes as a coach and as a recruiter. Her first prospects, the girls already on the roster.
Talked to a lot of people, talked to God, talked to my family, and I was just like, I'm going to stick it out for this last year. Like, how bad can it get?
For players like Smith and Jordan Lewis, Collins' player-empowering mentality was a major draw.
You can have amazing coaches, but I think you can also have an amazing program, and I think the program can build itself back up. And so I think just believing in her vision and believing in what she wanted to do with me to help me get to the next level and grow as a player.
Collins and the Bears fell short of their sky-high expectations when they lost to Texas in the Big 12 title game. After the game, Collins got emotional, thinking about the pressure she's felt all season. Not to prove the critics wrong, but to prove her players right.
I just love this team so much. And so, you know, it's always been about not letting them down. So, dang, all season long, I've never done this.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, did I want to put a feather in our cap and win today and meet the expectation? Yeah, but for these guys.
This next month will go a long way toward establishing Collins' future with the Bears. But one thing's for certain, she's already endeared herself to this team, who's ready to make another run at a national championship. Collins' predecessor, Kim Mulkey, in the tournament this weekend as well. Her LSU Tiger team, a 3 seed in the Spokane region, meaning the only time they'd meet up with Baylor would be in the title game. Coach Collins, a bit surprised the committee didn't try to add a little drama.
If you'd asked me 2 certainties with the NCAA tournament, I would have said UConn and Bridgeport, and LSU and Baylor in the same regional. So they have not had them in our regional for a while, but yeah, they love that for TV.
With that in mind, let's head to Baylor's quadrant. The Bears, the 2 seed in the Wichita region, a bit of a disappointment there. They had hoped they could jump up to the 1 line. Either way, the road is going to be a tough one. Baylor has the Sweet 16 circled, a potential rematch with Michigan. If both can stay alive that long, Baylor beat Michigan in the Sweet 16 last season, but lost to the Wolverines during the regular season. Before that, they have to survive round 1 against Hawaii. The Rainbow Wahine come into Waco as the champs out of the Big West Conference. They are led in just about every category by Amy Atwell, a redshirt senior. Baylor shouldn't have any problems with her, though, because the Bears have a bona fide presence in the paint of their own. That's right, Nalissa Smith has turned heads across the country this season. Now she hopes her last ride at Baylor can carry her to bigger dreams after college. For Nalissa Smith, basketball has always come a little easy.
I'm not gonna say it's easy, but like when I'm in that mode, I feel like I could get what I want to get out of it.
Her freshman year, Nalissa was crowned a national champ. Now she's the potential #1 pick.
Sometimes I catch myself off guard and be like, wow, like not to like boast myself, but like I just be like, wow, that's like I could actually go somewhere with this.
But this season, Smith faced a challenge unlike any other year at Baylor.
A lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of, adversity, changing.
And with that change, growing pains.
In the past, we haven't had to do that. Like, it's always been like a sweep throughout the years. And this year's the first year we had to really fight for like a Big 12 championship, and I love that.
Her competitive spirit not only driving her team forward, but also driving her draft stock through the roof.
Like I tell people, like my personal goals will help our team goals. Me playing my best basketball will help me and it will help this team at the same time. So I'm never putting myself and my goals before the team. I'm kind of mixing them together.
It's obviously paid off for the Bears, who won another Big 12 crown. But is she the #1 pick?
Oh goodness, that's not even a question. She is absolutely the #1 pick in the WNBA draft.
It's basketball at the end of the day. If you love it, then like you gonna do good in it. Like you fall in love with something, you're gonna see the progress from it.
Smith with one more chance to show off at the Farrell Center this weekend. Here's a look at those other teams making the trip to Waco. After Selection Sunday, Coach Collins was begging fans to come out and see Nalissa one more time. During a championship run, teams almost always have to rely on experience to carry them much of the way. Luckily for Baylor, they have the most experienced player ever sitting in their locker room. Call her the Cal Ripken of women's college basketball. Jordan Lewis has been around the block a few times. After coming to Baylor as a grad transfer from Alabama, Lewis set the record for most games played in a career.
I actually had no idea. The first time I found out was after the Oklahoma State game when I think I tied it or something, and then the next game they're like, oh, you're gonna break it. So that was the first time I found out about it.
Her calm confidence, forged through 6 years of experience, has been a steadying force in the Baylor backcourt.
Not only like on the court, but off the court and being a leader. Obviously, I've played like the most games in NCAA history, so just using that experience with my teammates.
Maybe more importantly, Lewis knew what it was like to lose from her time at Bama, something her new teammates simply weren't used to. They learned to lean on Lewis to carry them in those moments.
I've been the Kansas State that beat the Baylor. Like, we've been in those positions, so I think just realizing that it wasn't over and that 2 losses weren't going to make your whole season because we had 17 more games to go. And so I think just as a team and just as everyone together, like, it's going to be okay, guys. Like, we just have to get over the hump and we have to learn each other and we have to continue to grow even when we're not getting the result we want to.
Now the Bears are clicking, and Coach Collin thinks a lot of that stems from her experienced guard.
She's playing a lot more comfortable than what she was, and, you know, we're all starting to figure each other out, and I feel like that's going to help us a lot.
I don't think anything's been given to us all year, and so I think it's just important for us to keep that same hunger and same ambition to want to just win the next game just because we want to.
From D1 to D3, Central Texas well represented this postseason. We head down to Belton for a look back at the Crew's magical run coming up. As much as Baylor fans were celebrating their high seeds this March down in the Brazos Valley, fans of Texas A&M were filling my mentions asking how on earth A&M missed the tournament. The Aggies were among the first 4 teams out despite making the SEC tournament championship game. Athletic Director Ross Bjork came out with a statement Sunday night saying, quote, "It doesn't make sense. It's hard to figure out. This is a flawed selection process. And if we do not reward teams who deserve an opportunity based on how we've responded before, I can assure you no one will battle with stronger fight than Aggie men's basketball and this staff. The Aggies are currently competing for an NIT crown." Down the road in Belton, the Crew went on a couple magical runs through this postseason, falling just short of the Final Four. But coaches and fans believe it could be just the start of a dominant era of UMHB basketball. Coming into March, it had been 3 years since the UMHB women lost to end their season. First, COVID cut their tournament run short in 2020. Then it canceled the tournament altogether in 2021. In 2022, the Crew made it back to the Sweet 16 with the dream of an even deeper run.
And when you make 3 straight Sweet 16s, you got to embrace it, you know, and we're very fortunate that we're in this position again. We want to, you know, go out, and now we want to take that next step. We want to advance.
But for the 3rd straight tournament, the Sweet 16 was anything but. The Crew falling to Transylvania in Lexington by just 5. As the women were bowing out, the Crew were making history in Cleveland.
Gets Feely, screens, and Johnson shoots a 3. Wow.
A dramatic overtime comeback victory over Case Western was nothing short of miraculous, propelling the Crew back to the Elite 8 for the first time in nearly a decade.
What a win by Mary Hardin Baylor.
Their journey ended there. The Crew were one of just 2 programs in the entire country to get a team into both the men's and women's Sweet 16. It's a sign of the investments being made in Belton and a promising future for the Crew.
But man, it's awesome. It's special. You know, that's why you come to a place like this. Success is everywhere. It's expected, and we're given the resources to do these things.
It's just the expectation of UMHB, and this, you know, the athletic program is a program of champions. And you look up and down the hallway, you know, everywhere, everyone's competed at an NCAA tournament level. They've competed for championships.
Game day is creeping closer. Coming up, we'll take one final look at the matchups, and I'll tell you who I think will come out on top this March. Is it even March if you haven't filled out one of these? I'm not sure what y'all believe in, but I've always been a 1 bracket guy myself. You didn't predict an upset if you chose it on 1 of 10 brackets. I'm just saying. With that in mind, here are my picks for the Final Four, starting with the men. My bracket, pretty chalk this year. No real stunners to speak of. I think Texas Tech muscles past Duke and Gonzaga to the Final Four, while Baylor comes up just short in the Elite 8 against Kentucky. I think Kansas puts it together to win it all. They have what seems to be the cleanest path to a title. On the women's side, I've got every number 1 seed in the Final Four and the team that should have been a 1 seed. That's right, give me Baylor in the Final Four. Nikki Collin and company fall short to South Carolina there, but still, I'm projecting a great season for the Bears. All right, let's take one more look at the first round matchups before we go. The Baylor men get things going Thursday afternoon at 1 in Fort Worth. That game going to be on TBS. Meanwhile, the Baylor women will stay at home for round 1, a 3 p.m. tip-off at the Farrell Center on Friday against Hawaii. If they win, they won't play again until Sunday. Well, that'll do it for our 25 Sports Special. Back in the dance, we will be with the Bears every step of their journey for hopefully the next 3 weeks or so. So be sure to follow along on air and online. Have a great night, and may your brackets be blessed.